Well, Mark English has taken all the plaudits here tonight, and I'm sure no one prouder than Joe English and his mum Bridget and the family. I saw a great photograph with the two girls on trackside, Joe. I mean, he mentioned the family, and I know you've given them great support with your own background, but this must be a hugely proud moment for you all.
Come here, Charlie. I cannot put into words how proud I felt with Mark's achievement. You know, I felt fairly composed, you know, actually during Mark's race and afterwards, but this morning at the airport it just all collapsed on me altogether, to be quite honest. I got very emotional.
Yeah.
And just to see people jumping into buses this morning at 5:30 in Letterkenny to come up and welcome Mark home, I was just overawed. I was just overcome.
Yeah.
You know, I met Paddy Walsh there and John, what do you call him, Sean Maloney, and people like that. I just couldn't believe it. We were so proud.
I suppose that's a reflection of how much this means to all of us, Joe, because I mean, Mark's out there representing Ireland, but to us he's out representing Letterkenny and Donegal.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, Letterkenny is very important to Mark. He'll always keep saying to me, how's it going back home? You know, is there any reaction? He wants to know. He's a Letterkenny man through and through, even though he's running for UCD at the minute. He's a product of Letterkenny Athletic Club. And you know, this morning I thought of people like Neil Cullen. Started off bringing him down to under 12s, down to the tin shed as we used to call it in Nina, down in Tipperary, and battling with relays out the back in the rain and coming in and your shoes be muck getting on the track, you know. And then who else was I thinking of? People like Leo Finnegan, who I wish good health to, recovery. He videoed every race nearly that Mark went to, Charlie, and Mark used to take those videos. He would spend time putting them up on YouTube, whatever, and he analysed them, and he analysed all his opponents, and Leo was very important in all that analysis work there. He provided all of that. And then of course Teresa McDaid as well. I thought about her this morning, Charlie. You know, last 5 years, Mark's coach, and I mean, as soon as he crossed the line I said, Teresa McDaid, you are so much a part of this medal. A Letterkenny girl. Now, I know they parted there a couple of months ago. It was very amicable and they moved on, but they're still very good friends, and tonight I remember Teresa in a big way. You know, we're all one community, you see. We're very passionate, Charlie. I met a man this morning there, Harry Gorman. I don't know many Olympics he's had. He's 84 years of age. And he was out. My father's going to be dead jealous when I tell him the story, you know.
But listen, we've all known that Mark had the potential, Joe, but I mean, you've been involved in sport for a long time as well, and I made this point to numerous people here tonight. Potential's one thing and realising it's another, and bridging that gap is hugely difficult.
Yes it is, and there's an awful lot involved in it. You know, it's no good having the ability down in the legs. You need it upstairs in the head. I think I heard Brother Colin saying something similar in the Radisha documentary recently, and the more that I am involved in this game of athletics, I see how important that is. I mean, in that final there, the young French guy fell apart at the start of the race. I felt so sorry for him. You know, now I know he's a good few medals, but no one deserves that to happen to them. And he tried to hold up the start of the race, and the referee told him, no, this race is going on.
I saw that.
You know, he brought Mark through in the semi-final because he took out the pace fast. Mark owed him an awful lot for that, and then in the final he lost his own medal, and Mark claimed one.
That's sport, Joe.
That's sport. That's the unpredictability of sport, and it makes it so exciting. I am just so glad that it was an Irish guy. I'm so glad it was a Donegal fella, and I'm so proud, Charlie, that it was a Letterkenny fella. You know.
And finally, Joe, our expectations often now will increase because you hear people mentioning the World Championships. The Olympics, some might have suggested, and I would have suggested they should have sent them to the Olympics in London a couple of years ago,
Charlie,
but maybe not. But now we're going to expect so much of him, Joe, and that's going to add the pressure.
Yes, it will. But I tell you what, Charlie, he wants to make Rio, and he wants to get that time early next year. He doesn't want to be hanging around like what happened 2 years ago in London, where he was, 2 weeks before it, he was 0.17 off it, and because of the arrangements that were then at the time, he didn't get there. But I can tell you, Charlie, he'll get that time early with the help of God. Now you can get it, I think, from the 1st of January next year onwards. He wants that in the bag, and he wants to get down to some planning, some decent planning, and not to have be waiting around at the last minute chasing times around Europe.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, just finally to say and emphasise what Desi Larkin said, watching the TV and hearing George Hamilton, fair play to him, say Letterkenny and Donegal, it just it made us feel so proud, Joe.
Oh, come here. Listen to me. And the other thing is, I met a man over there, Brendan Foster, totally coincidental, and he came over to us, he heard the Irish accent, he says, have you somebody running? I says, yeah, I have a son running. He says, what's his name? I says, Mark English. He says, he took out his notebook, Charlie, and he says, what's your name? I says, my name is Joe. What's your wife's name? Bridget. What's the two daughters' names? He says, do you mind if I mention, your names tonight? No, I says, I tell you what, I'll do a deal with you. You can mention their names, he says, provided that you mention Letterkenny as well. I says, because there's no better town in the whole of Ireland than Letterkenny.
Well, she's been mentioned on numerous occasions so far tonight, and no surprise that she has, because the association between Teresa McDaid and Mark English has been a long-standing one. Teresa, a proud moment for us all here in Letterkenny, because we are a bit clannish and all that. But for you personally, this must be one of the highlights of your athletics career.
Absolutely delighted. So proud of Mark, delighted at the achievement, delighted to see a plan come into action that you've been planning for a long time. Mark has come up through the ranks as youth, junior, under 23, and now to come to senior, and just that plan and that pattern to happen. And sure, listen, it's great for a community, great for Letterkenny, great for all the guys that trained with him, the likes of McBurty, Finnegan, Mooney, Kieran Doherty, all those. It's been fantastic, and sure, listen, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Teresa, nobody will know better than you. What makes Mark English that bit different, that he's able to go out to the European Championships and bring us home a bronze medal?
Well, I've always kind of described Mark as Mark ticks a lot of boxes. Mark's athletic, he's got a racing brain, he's an intelligent young man, he's ambitious, he's determined, and when he wants to, he can work quite hard. So he's very much the complete package, there's no doubt about it. I often quote, last year, the year before, I had the great David Radisha at a squad day that I managed, and I was fortunate to meet with Brother Colum, and he said, you can't get out what God didn't put in. So that's exactly what it is. You can't get out what God didn't put in, and it certainly is in Mark English.
And the family's background is sport and athletics and all that sort of stuff as well. That would have been a help. But again, a point I've made to a number of people, Teresa, plenty of young lads have talent, they have prospects, and then we never hear from them once they get into those late teen years and early 20s.
I think it's like anything, if you're looking for, and I suppose it would be my approach as a high performance coach, you surround yourself with a team, and the family has an integral part in that team, because at the end of the day they're often if you don't have the family on board, you have nobody on board. They're the people that are there a lot of the time when you can't access the person, the athlete yourself, and I think it's quite, it's actually interesting that if you look even in the success in Letterkenny in terms of the likes of the Englishes, the Finnegans, the McBurtys, the Danny Mooneys, they're all very grounded from family, and there's nothing like family to ground you and to sort of bring you down to back to earth when you need to be brought down. So
you'll be watching it from a personal point of view on Friday night, the final. You'll be watching it from a high performance coach point of view and all that. Talk us through maybe the second lap of it, Teresa. Where was your head in terms of where Mark was situated and what his chances were with a lap to go?
I think it was, I've seen him do exactly what he did this time round in the World Juniors in 2012 as well, where he learned, Mark is an incredibly racing brain, he learned from the semi, and the mistake he made in the semi, he brought it into the final, and he did that exactly. And at the end of the day, if you look at 800 metres, they're often won and lost in the last 20 or 30 metres. The race was a classic Mark English race, slow start, and when he kicked, he started to move going down the back straight, and when he kicked from home, you just sort of thought, well, how far is he going to go, sort of thing. Like, I knew at the same time Kashot was going to be there. I thought Lewandowski would have medalled, and I think for all of us the third Polish guy was a bit of a surprise. So but at the end of the day, he has a killer kick, which we've seen. If you go back then and look at the splits and the 4x4, we have an 800 metre guy that's faster than all the 400 metre men. So when you have that ability to turn a pace and change through gears, I always felt that was going to come.
I spoke to him out at the 4 minute mile event in Letterkenny as well, and he was very focused, and I suggested to him maybe the 800 metres is the toughest of them all now, Teresa, is it?
I think certainly 800 metres has changed. What David Radisha did in London that we all experienced brought 800 metre running into a completely different realm that it never had been before. So by all means, it certainly is a challenge. I think, I heard somebody saying Seb Coe talked about 80%, but 800 metres is actually about 63% aerobic. So it's that ability to be able to sustain the first lap and to be able to kick and possibly kick again. And not only that, I think the 800 metres, and I often think that's what attracts Mark to the 800 metres, is that tactical awareness. And you have to it's just not about being physically fit, but you have to be mentally fit and mentally able to know when to move, where to move in out of. And I think that's the big challenge, and that's one of the exciting things about 800 metre running.
And a final question, Teresa. Where does he go from here, and perhaps more importantly, what can he do from here?
Well, again, looking back to even Barcelona in 2012, and we've seen him race against athletes his own age in the junior, well, allegedly his own age in the juniors, and then all of a sudden these athletes pop up in the greatest ever 800 metres that we have ever seen to date 2 weeks later in the London Olympics. So and knowing Mark the way I do, knowing the support that he has around him, knowing his personality, his ability, the sky's the limit.
Medal in the Olympics?
I think medals in the Olympics, all medals are hard to come by, but listen, do you know what? I sat actually in the World Indoors with Kevin Ankrum, the high performance manager, and he says, well, how do you think what's going to happen here? And I says, Kevin, you gotta believe. So I believe.
Couldn't finish off without having a word with the chairman of Letterkenny Athletic Club. I've already talked to a few of the members, but for the club, this is a fantastic night.
Oh, indeed, Charlie. We're very proud of Mark. For the club and for all the officials and all the coaches, it's a great end to what they've produced from Mark as a young athlete at 8, coming right up through the ranks. And yeah, he done well at national level, and then started to show good form at national level, then at senior level, and then moving on to international level, and finally now getting a medal at European 800 metres is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's about talent, obviously, about raw talent, but it's also about dedication, because you can't win with only one of them, Brendan, and you've been involved in sport for a long, long time. And athletics is a tough sport. I mean, I was talking to Kay Byrne earlier on, who's competed for so long. It's such an individual sport at times, and particularly when things are not going well, you've got to really stick in there.
Yeah, and I heard that talked about actually in the BBC commentary at the weekend, where talent is only one thing, but not the most important. It's what you do with that talent then, and how it's nurtured, and the team that you have around you, from coach to nutrition, to medical support, and indeed family support. Yeah. And then also then all the club members that fundraise and work behind the scenes to make it possible. And again, the likes of the council that had the foresight to build the Aura Centre and the track. All of that contributes towards it. So it takes more than talent, and it's what you do with the talent, of course.
I'm sure Letterkenny AC, and I'm almost certain all the other clubs around the county will be saying to their juveniles and their young athletes now, listen, Mark English started where you are now, and he's come back with a championship medal in the European Championships. If you apply yourself properly, if you really want to do it, it can be done.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something that we would have talked to the young juveniles growing up at Mark's age group, that when Sinead Jennings come back with the rowing medal, we put that up to him. Sinead's just a local girl from the town and has achieved at world level. It is possible. Yeah. And we've proven that time and time again now with Rory Finnegan, Danny Mooney, Mark English, Darren McBurdy, and there's many more in Donegal that persevere with it, that they can achieve the same.
A great night for the club.
Great night for the club. Very proud of Mark and his family, and proud to be chairman here on this night, welcoming Mark home again.
Thanks, Brendan. Appreciate it.